Hi everyone, it's Eric Mitchell, ski jumper from the Vancouver 2010 Winter Olympics. I'm coming to you from behind my phone, which I'll admit is a little bit of a change from normal, where we'd all be sitting together in a gymnasium, waving at each other during pride parades, or even playing soccer. Anyway, I promise this will be just as much fun. I'm excited to be with you for your physical education journey while you are at home. On my journey to the Olympics, I embraced the values of excellence, friendship, and respect. Today, we will focus on learning about respect. Through discussion and writing, we will discuss two key points. Number 1, respect for those who are different than ourselves. Number 2, personal responsibility for creating a space that embraces individual identity. At the end of the lesson, you will consider ways to create a safe environment, and you will have reflected on the Olympic value of respect for others. So, here we go. The name of this activity is A Safe Place to Be. It's intended for grades 7 to 9, and first, you will need a comfortable and quiet place to sit. This can be anywhere, like your bed, a couch, the floor, a yoga mat, or even head outside. Next, you will need a notepad and a pen to write down some of your ideas. I encourage you to use the writing method of your choice though. This could be something you're comfortable with. Your computer, the notes app on your phone, or even some loose paper that you have laying around. Today's activity is going to be broken down into 2 parts. The first will be a reflection on creating a safe space for everyone, and about the virtue of respect. The second part will be a writing activity. That's what that notebook's for. But before getting into the writing, I want to discuss the word respect with you. What is it all about? Well, we are all different in one way or another. Our personalities, our likes, our dislikes, our appearance, backgrounds, race, religion, sexual orientation, beliefs, and many other things make us all very unique. For these differences to coexist in peace, we need to develop an appreciation for our own uniqueness and the respect for the uniqueness of others. We each play a part in creating safer spaces where we can be ourselves and not have to hide our true selves. Ask yourself, how do I react to those around me who are different? Are you able to respect them even though they are different than you? I want to take a moment and tell you a bit about a time where I encountered respect in my career as a ski jumper. So I'm going to take you way back to when I was in grade 12, 17 years old, and I was working to try to qualify for the Olympic Games that were going to be taking place right here in Canada. Here's how I did it. I was 17 and I thought that I needed to do everything that I could to qualify for these games because, to be honest, I was pretty much an underdog. I had purple hair and skinny jeans, and pretty much nobody was expecting me to qualify for the games. But I knew that I could do it, and I put a process in place to develop all of the skills that I needed. I had a big list like this, and it was making sure that I was doing every single physical training I could. It made sure I was doing and taking good care of my mental health. It made sure I was eating properly, getting enough sleep, and eventually it did result to me becoming a pretty good ski jumper, a good enough one to be put on the national team. But what I took for granted was all of these things that I was putting in place here in Canada were very much what I needed to be successful. And I didn't really appreciate how important it was to embrace my own uniqueness and respect the differences that I had created for myself. I headed over to Europe, which is where the final qualifying competitions were taking place for the Vancouver Games. And I remember looking around and seeing athletes from Norway and Austria and Germany. These were top athletes, and they were doing things so much different than I was doing them. I was looking around and everyone was different than I was. I mean, they were speaking different languages, they were from all different countries, and they were training and preparing much differently than I had been used to. And so I panicked. I'm telling you, I panicked. I completely started trying to emulate what the others were doing because they were jumping very good. And what I had lost in that process was the core respect for my own uniqueness that had made me good enough to be put on that national team, to be put in a place to qualify for these games. The results proved it. I ended up near the bottom of every competition. It was dark days. But then a couple of weeks later, we traveled as a team to Otape, Estonia, which is where actually the final qualifying event for the Vancouver Games would take place. and I still hadn't qualified. And I remember showing up in Odape and thinking, you know what? This is your last chance, Eric. You need to be true to yourself and follow your plan. There's no reason to look around. And that was a very freeing feeling. I remember going for my warm-up that day, doing all of the things that I used to do back home in Canada. And when I hiked up to the top of that ski jump, put on my skis, let go of that start gate, and started hurling myself down this icy track at 100 kilometers an hour, leaping into the air, I was true to myself. And that jump was just good enough to put me on the Olympic team. So just a couple of months later, I walked into the opening ceremony of the Vancouver 2010 Winter Olympic Games, waved up to a crowd of 50,000 screaming Canadians, and knew that I had done it because I had been true to myself. This is a memory that I hold very dearly. But it's in fact not my favorite memory from sport. Because there's another part of respecting those around us that's really important that I learned a couple of years later. It was when I first marched in a pride parade with the rest of Team Canada. I was an LGBTQ athlete, and I never felt that I could be respected for who I was. There were no other gay athletes competing with me when I was competing back then, and I felt that because I was different, I was needing to hide that part of myself in order to be part of the best skiers in the world. But when I marched with the rest of Team Canada, they had gold medals around their necks, and they had a cheering source of pride about them that I just couldn't extinguish. I learned that day that it's important to respect all aspects of yourself, because the reality is, if you can't respect yourself, how can you expect to be respectful of others and for others to respect you? Those are two of my favorite memories from sport. And now that I've shared my story with you, I'm going to ask you to do some reflection for 3 different questions. So make sure you're seated somewhere comfortable and really take the time to think these questions through. Number 1, what is the meaning of respect as it relates to individual differences? Number 2, what makes you feel respected? Are there times where you don't feel respected for your differences? And 3, what constitutes a respectful or safe place? Next is the writing activity. So grab your notebook and write what it means to create a safe space. What do you need to do? Why is it in everyone's best interest? How does a safe space benefit you? When you go back to school, share your ideas with the teachers to ensure that your school is a safe place to be. I want to thank you for joining me today and learning about respect and how you can contribute to creating a safe school and sport environment for all. Thank you so much. Bye for now.